So the Amber Heard Johnny Depp defamation lawsuit has literally exploded on social media over the last, I think it's now going on to its 6th week. Now this thing is just so insanely popular on YouTube, but something I don't use as much is TikTok. But my sister uses TikTok a lot and she keeps sending me Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, like court case. I don't even know what to call them. I'd say memes, but they're like videos essentially just making fun of Amber Heard or promoting Johnny Depp and painting him to be this hero and everything like that. And it just made me think about making this video. I've actually been considering making this video a lot over the last couple of weeks, but I thought this was like the perfect time in the case. It's winding down. There's lots to talk about. So what I've been thinking about really is just how this whole trial has been weaponized to attack Me Too, attack women's rights, attack the credibility of women's testimony of abuse. And there are some silver linings, like Johnny Depp speaking about how he was abused in some instances has spawned a lot of men coming forward to talk about their own like experiences of domestic abuse, and because of things like patriarchy and toxic masculinity, often men do not want to come forward with this. It makes you seem weak or makes you seem like fragile or you're not a real man, all those different things. So that's a good thing to this trial. But overall, in my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, I haven't really taken a side, because when you look at the evidence, both these people have treated each other like absolute garbage. I don't think there's anything that I've seen that is so redeeming about Johnny Depp that he deserves all the sympathy and Amber Heard deserves all the hatred. And I think her being targeted out of both of them speaks a lot to the power of celebrity, but I also think the hatred towards her in a lot of ways is fueled by bigotry towards women. And it's not surprising people who push men's rights are using this trial to say the whole concept of Me Too and women finally speaking out en masse against gross exploitation and abuse by males in like Hollywood or just at work in office places and things like that. It's all just a feminist conspiracy, a feminist lie for women to attack men. So to start with today, we're going to talk about how this trial has been sensationalized by the media, but mainly by social media. And then I want to talk a little bit about like male victims of abuse and talk about how the trial has spawned a conversation about this, before getting into how the whole case has been misrepresented to make Johnny Depp seem like a completely innocent guy who is a victim who has never done anything wrong in this relationship, before exploring how these right-wing fragile men are using this whole case to push a narrative about feminism. But before we go any further, please like the video, and I guess for today's comment it's pretty straightforward, but I guess I'll have two. So what do you think about the case? In the comments, write that down. Also, do you have anyone who's been like properly radicalized by this stuff? Because I've seen some people act absolutely unhinged about this stuff. Team Johnny Depp. Essentially, it seems like a cult at this point. It's really, really bizarre. So let me know in the comments, do you have any experience of that either? Also, thanks so much. Finally, we hit 75,000 subscribers. This means a lot to me because this year has been such a grind getting subscribers. Gives me hope we can reach the goal of potentially 100k by the end of this year. Also, for every 5k we get a new chocolate orange. I finally arranged it a bit better. I'm going to buy a new chocolate orange tomorrow and the white one will go at the top. So it'll be nice and color coordinated to a degree. But help me keep chugging along. 80k next and another chocolate orange. Also, follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out our subreddit in the description. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I want to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible, and the benefits of that are getting my Nintendo Switch friend code and getting access to the private patrons Discord server. Also, subscribe to my second channel, the Kavernacle Extra, where I archive all my live streams, which I do twice a week. Let's start by talking about the popularity of this trial and how it's become this social media sensation. So for the purpose of this video, I just went incognito on YouTube and I typed in Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And if you notice, as I'm like scrolling and looking at things, the views on this content is absolutely insane. Like 100k in 4 hours, 57k watching in some channels, 702,000 people watching live streams of these trials. I have never seen such numbers for a live streamed anything. And I watched like live stream Champions League final and stuff like that. It's absolutely crazy how popular this has become. And if you type in things like the quartering, Amber Heard, you'll see that a lot of anti-SJWs are also grifting off this trial, making like often multiple videos a day because this stuff is just so popular. And of course, why would someone like the quartering be Team Johnny Depp, be covering the trial in this way? Well, we're going to get onto that a bit later. But like I said, like my sister has been sending me all these TikToks which have been clowning on Amber Heard. You even have stuff like this. So read this tweet. On what planet does a brand, even Duolingo, think it's okay to crack jokes about an alleged victim of abuse? The Depp fandom bubble on TikTok is very real, but no brand should get anywhere near it. And Duolingo posted, y'all think Amber watches TikTok? And then you have a lot of these Johnny Depp cultists swarming people involved in the trial, testifying on Amber Heard's behalf or something. So WebMD profile of Amber Heard expert witness flooded with negative reviews during the trial. People have been review bombing the experts called by Amber Heard's team. This is a psychiatrist who testified today, all in the last 10 minutes. YouTube even seems to be pushing this stuff as well. Of course, it's getting so many views, so much lovely ad revenue for YouTube themselves. So bear in mind that I was only searching for Rihanna's Love on the Brain live performance. YouTube is really pushing this content even if it's not factual. So Rihanna reacts to Amber stealing story against Johnny Depp. She's faking it. Rihanna rages on Amber Heard for mimicking her during trial. So the cult around Johnny Depp during this trial has also kind of informed the media coverage. And Johnny Depp has obviously a very good PR team, has a very good legal team, who even if he does not win this defamation trial, nearly everyone thinks that Johnny Depp is totally innocent in this trial in regards to how he treated Amber Heard in the relationship. Because most of you would have heard those tapes of Amber Heard saying that, you know, if Johnny Depp came forward with allegations against her that she hit him because she hit him, then no one would believe him. No, like, do you want to be this victim? Do you want people to see you this way? Like, most people think that because Amber Heard has done horrible things to Johnny Depp, that Johnny Depp couldn't have possibly ever done anything bad to Amber Heard. This wasn't a toxic relationship. This was just Johnny Depp being a complete and total victim, helpless victim. Again, his trial lawyers and this cult personality around Johnny Depp have been very good at framing it in this way. Also, because of, I guess, the imbalance of power in the terms of no one really knows who Amber Heard is apart from things like Aquaman. Johnny Depp is one of the most famous actors in Hollywood. He's been constant in Hollywood for years, the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. He's had so many great roles. He's obviously like a very accomplished actor. So many people love him for these performances. Like most people don't really know who Amber Heard is. She's friends. I don't know if she's going out with Eve Fartlow, that obviously horrible Zionist. So Amber Heard just automatically seems very unlikable in comparison with charismatic Johnny Depp. And this even extends to the trial because Johnny Depp has been charismatic on the stand as well. And because this whole thing is being filmed, it's playing very well into the public's view of him. So there is this whole image of Johnny Depp being totally innocent, never done anything wrong to Amber Heard, and therefore that's going to be good at rehabilitating his image after this whole fiasco is over, no matter what happens with the outcome of the trial. Now, there's a guy called Michael Hobbs who has been tweeting a lot of good stuff about this trial, trying to counter this dominating narrative that Johnny Depp has never done anything wrong and Amber Heard has made everything up, because that's what people genuinely believe in this trial. So I just want to read one recent thread he made on the 21st of May about stuff that has been overlooked in the media and how a lot of stuff that Amber Heard has said is basically not taken seriously, while everything Johnny Depp has said is taken as absolute fact. I've noticed a weird reluctance on the part of liberal journalists to assess for evidence in the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard trial. The right has spent weeks screaming she's lying, and so far the left has responded with, it's complicated. It's not, let's take a look. I want to zoom in on one of the incidents Heard alleges and the kind of evidence she's using to back up her claim. On May 21st, 2016, Depp confronted Heard with the allegation that she had pooped in their bed to get back at him for their previous fight. Not that it matters here, but Depp's accusation makes no sense. Their dog had done this in the bed before, and Depp was staying in another one of their homes at the time. Why would Amber do this in her bed to get back at him, even if he wasn't sleeping there? But anyway, Depp thinks Heard's friend, Io Tillett Wright, was responsible for this incident and forces her to call him. Wright denies the accusation and Depp blows up. He throws the phone at Heard, hitting her in the face. So what's the evidence this happened as Heard describes? First, photos. Heard's friends documented her injuries shortly after the fight. Metadata confirms the date and time these were taken. Second, witness statements. Wright confirms Heard's version of events, as do two of her friends who saw later stages of the confrontation. Her sister and a makeup artist saw bruises and chunks of her hair missing the next day. Third, communications. Heard texted numerous people and repeated her account of what happened. Depp first texted to blame her for the encounter, and again a few days later to apologise. What's Depp's account of these events? He believes Heard is faking everything. She photoshopped pictures to appear injured, smashed up their apartment herself, and talked her friends into supporting her account. He admits leaving his phone at the house but says he didn't throw it. His lawyers also presented numerous witnesses who say they saw Heard over the next few days and didn't notice any bruises. Police officers eventually arrived and didn't notice major damage to the apartment or Heard's bruises. The judge in the UK case found all of this unconvincing. Heard likely covered up the bruises with makeup. The police were only at the apartment for 15 minutes, took no notes, and admit they didn't examine Heard closely. In summary, this incident is extremely well documented and the counter evidence is weak. It's a far cry from the he said, she said version of this case most normal, low information Americans have been presented with. Every other incident is backed up by witnesses, photos, text, diary entries, or other documentation. Heard's narrative aligns with all the evidence. A guy with a history of misogyny, jealousy, and violent outbursts brought that pattern into his marriage. Depp's account, on the other hand, is essentially a conspiracy theory. Heard spent years fabricating texts, photos, and diary entries so she could file for divorce, signed an NDA, and write a vague half sentence about him in the post a year later. I'm leaving out a lot of details, and I'm not claiming my read is the only valid interpretation, but there's a huge amount of misinformation about this case going around, and if we want to combat it, we have to engage with the case on the merits. So the Hoop story has been one which has widely circulated on social media. People at the Quartering have made loads of videos on it. There's loads of TikToks about it. But how many of you have heard it described in that way, where it seems like Johnny Depp completely made it up and it was based on his own paranoia, and there is so much evidence to substantiate Heard's claims and literally only Johnny Depp's own testimony to substantiate his own claims? I have been following the case, and some of the stuff is pretty damning on Amber Heard's part, but what you don't see in the mainstream media is any accounts of Johnny Depp doing bad things to her in the first place. You don't see Amber Heard in any sympathetic light. You don't see anything about, her friends and other witnesses in previous court cases about these things. Like you saw those, medical experts who testified, they get reviewed bombed by this cult of Johnny Depp. There is no nuance here because people want so hard to either believe Johnny Depp can't do anything wrong, or there's more insidious motives going on where they're trying to discredit the whole Me Too movement, make it seem like every woman who comes forward is making it up to take down an innocent, powerful man. And we're going to get back to that a bit later when we discuss how these MRAs are actually taking this whole trial. But then I read a really good article, which I'm going to share with you. It's quite long, but I think it's really worthwhile in us reading through it. Basically talking about them supporting Johnny Depp and then not supporting them, and then analysing why they supported Johnny Depp and analysing what societal factors, what on social media convinced them to support Johnny Depp and not take the case as a whole and see the nuance of it and see how both of these people are guilty of different things, not just Amber Heard being a total villain who has just victimized Johnny Depp without him doing anything himself. So let's take a look at this article. So she supported Johnny Depp, then she changed her mind. The scariest thing about it was that it didn't feel like I was falling for propaganda at all. Embedded is your essential guide to what's good on the internet from Kate Lindsay and Nick Bertucci. Laura, who I connected with over Reddit and requested that I only use her first name, initially supported Depp and consumed pro-Depp propaganda, but after engaging in further research and discussions online, she changed her mind. No small feat in today's polarized social media environment. Laura graciously agreed to talk to me, and I'm presenting her thoughtful answers in full. I've never seen a single Amber Heard movie, but Johnny Depp was by far my favourite actor growing up. I remember when we got a colour printer when I was a young teenager, we tried not to use too much ink, so I carefully chose a few pictures of Johnny Depp to print out and cover the inside of my locker with them. I was obsessed. I sought out certain movies I otherwise would have no interest in just because he was in them. The obsession cooled a bit as I got older, but he was still one of my favourite actors, and I treasured many of his performances. I didn't really know much about Amber Heard when her initial allegations became public, but I knew women who had been abused. I knew that, contrary to what some may believe, women don't stand to gain anything from making such accusations. I saw people speculating that she was a liar, and I posted on Facebook in support of her. Why would she lie? Like many others, my support changed sides when I first heard the recordings of Amber on Reddit, I think, that seemed to show her being cruel and abusive to Johnny, taunting him, admitting to hitting him. I was horrified. Here it seemed was concrete evidence showing that she had been the primary abuser. As a feminist, it's important to me to show support to anyone who claims they've been abused, and too often men who come forward aren't supported. All of the Reddit comments were tearing her apart, and I thought, well, this recording isn't faked, so she must be the monster in the situation. The thing that convinced me the most was the recordings themselves, but I would be lying if I said that the sheer volume of Depp support online wasn't a factor. Amber's side didn't factor into things anymore because it seemed like there wasn't another side. The whole internet, it seemed, was on Johnny's side. I didn't hear a single person speaking out in support of her, not one, and the recordings seemed like a smoking gun. Sure, she had bruises, but there she was admitting to hitting him. There were also men and women in the comment section saying that the recordings gave them chills because they reminded them of their abusive ex. I wanted to believe survivors, so I believed them. I never went on TikTok or YouTube seeking out pro-Depp content. I mostly stayed away, just clicking on links when they would pop up on Reddit, to a chorus of loud support for Johnny and vicious attacks on Amber, but she was the monster, right? The whole thing made me feel sad, so I mostly avoided it. First little chip in my support of Depp happened maybe a year or so ago when I found out the disgusting texts he sent Paul Bettany. When I read them, I felt sick. In all my Reddit browsing, I had never heard about these texts before. They never came up. People were too busy posting about how Amber was a monster. Somehow, though, that wasn't enough to completely erode my support, though it became a bit more tepid then. The thing that really changed my mind was lurking on a particular subreddit, Blog Snark, when the trial began. I was completely shocked to hear the reactions there. The support for Amber was overwhelming. It felt jarring. Didn't these people know that she was a monster? Why are they spending so much time defending her? The cognitive dissonance was wild. In all my time on the internet, this was the only time I saw support for Amber, and the things they were saying in complete opposition to everything I was reading on other subreddits. Initially, I wanted to look away, thinking they were simply wrong. I was trying to support a victim, Johnny I thought, but every single week there'd be a thread after thread defending Amber and explaining how Johnny was the toxic one. I started to learn things I'd never heard before. I was also pretty horrified to learn that Johnny is close friends with Marilyn Manson. I've been following Evan Rachel Wood quite closely and recently watched her documentary in which she discusses her own abuse. What kind of person could be friends with Manson? But initially it still didn't seem possible that the entire internet could be wrong, so I avoided digging deeper for a while, but eventually it became overwhelming and I knew I had to look at the evidence for myself. This was clearly bigger than this one court case. If what these relatives were saying was true, we were witnessing the complete character assassination of an abuse victim on a global scale. It's impossible not to see this as a backlash to Me Too, like women have gone too far. Okay ladies, we listened to you and locked a couple of men up, don't get too greedy now, which of course ignores the fact that there are so many powerful men who have yet to experience any true consequences for their actions. There's also the fact, of course, Johnny has portrayed so many beloved characters over the years, and it's hard for people to give that up. Come on, he's Jack Sparrow. So I like that article just because it details someone who is a fan of Johnny Depp and how you can so easily be manipulated into supporting Johnny Depp as this innocent victim, not someone who did have many characteristics of an abuser, not someone who had a history of being a complete total piece of garbage to Amber Heard. And her being bad back doesn't erase that at all. I don't know how people can't walk and chew gum, where there are interesting conversations to be had about male victims of abusive relationships, but at the same time, when you actually look at the evidence, it's clear that while Johnny might have been a victim of certain circumstances in their relationship, it's also clear Amber Heard was also a victim of him, and he also had the power imbalance of gender and the power imbalance of him being far more famous than her and someone who had way more connections in Hollywood, potentially could ruin her career. And this trial essentially has ruined her career. He has ruined her career at the end of the day. So overall, in my opinion, despite Johnny Depp not winning the court cases before, he has won the PR battle. No one is going to really entertain people saying that Johnny Depp is an abuser himself. Even if they both are abusers, he is one, and it's clear. there is very, very good evidence of him being one, just as much as there is that recording of Amber Heard saying these things. In my opinion, it's also pretty clear if you balance up all the bad things that they've both done to each other, Johnny Depp is worse. But if you're on TikTok all day and getting force-fed this content about how he's an innocent victim, you would never ever believe that. But if you actually look into the cases, especially the UK defamation case, then you will see that Johnny Depp is very, very guilty of these things. So a bit of a silver lining, but also plays into this cult around Johnny Depp, is there are many men speaking up now about their own personal experiences of domestic abuse. And I think that is a positive thing, but then I think it also plays into this cult of personality in that Johnny Depp is being seen as this symbol, right? He is the famous celebrity, the macho man, to finally speak out about being treated terribly by his girlfriend. And I do believe like things like patriarchy, toxic masculinity, stop men from often speaking up. I just want to read a quick article where some men talk about why they love Johnny Depp for doing this. So from NBC, male domestic violence survivors say they feel the Depp Heard trial is a turning point. So Tony Enos said, when I initially heard about the case, I was a little shocked. Wow, who would have thought this could have happened to Johnny Depp? Enos, who works as a counsellor to other men who have survived domestic violence, said that seeing a man who is perceived to be as powerful, wealthy and famous as Depp claim that he endured domestic violence has made him feel less alone. The awareness is everywhere. Men can be survivors and interpersonal violence too. But Jack, seeing a powerful man publicly state that he had endured this violence lifted a weight off his shoulders. Jack, a survivor of abuse who asked that NBC News refer to him by his middle name to protect his privacy, said he endured this abuse in addition to childhood abuse. He said for many years he'd kept quiet because he was embarrassed. Mr. Depp is actually brave enough to come forward. I would have felt humiliated having to tell the public my 5'2" ex used to beat the crap out of me. Jack said, adding that after watching Depp's testimony, he was finally able to open up to friends about what he had endured. I would never fight back because I would never want to be in Mr. Depp's position, Jack said. Now that he's come forward, it has given me and others allowance to say, I've been abused by a domestic partner too. So I'm happy for people like Jack who have seen this trial and feel better about coming forward and talking about their own experiences. I guess the problem being is the trial they have seen has been manufactured, has been propagandized, where they are seeing themselves in Johnny Depp because he's been portrayed as this completely innocent victim of an abusive relationship. But when, like I said, you dig a bit deeper, it's pretty clear he's also the perpetuator of an abusive relationship. But this stuff from Jack is powerful. People saying that is powerful, and people saying, I love Johnny Depp for being the guy to finally speak out about his experience. Again, that just adds so much more to this image of Johnny Depp being this very brave person who's finally coming forward and speaking up on behalf of male victims everywhere. But that is just not the reality of the situation. I guess maybe it's a silver lining of this pretty ugly court case that, you know, this is something that is emboldening some men. But then, of course, while that's a good thing, there's a much, much uglier side, which seems to be the more dominant side of many MRAs taking this whole trial and basically saying every woman who's spoken out pretty much is a liar. They just want to ruin men's lives. Me Too is a joke. Feminism is like a mental disease. And a lot of people have been using this trial to push this narrative to get more followers into this, because look at Johnny Depp. He's being taken down by a fanatical feminist woman. And that means most of the allegations against these men aren't real. And this subreddit I'm going to show you also kind of thinks the Weinstein allegations aren't real either. Then you go on to the men's rights subreddit, and there are so many posts about this, but you're going to get the gist of some of them, and these are like the most upvoted ones. Hashtag #MeToo failed Johnny Depp and proves that the woke movement is nothing but digital chivalry. The Me Too movement often claims to be about victims and not about gender, but in Johnny Depp's case, not only was he obviously the victim, we had multiple people come forward to Me Too his abuser Amber Heard. Me Too is nothing more than a modern incarceration of old school chivalry. We might not be holding the doors open for women on the internet, but we are still giving them preferential treatment in other ways. Not only is this unfair to men, but it also infantilizes women. This double standard implies that women are weaker than men instead of strong and independent, making the woke movement and Me Too a failure for both men and women. women. The woke mob won't be stopped. They will say this is a drop in the bucket against the real stories. The real story is that women are just as violent as men, and what they do is illegal, and what many of them do should be illegal. Didn't fail here. Me Too did exactly what it was intended to do. Me Too was fueled by protection of women as well as hatred of men. I would dare to say even more intensely by misandry. I'm hopeful about the Johnny Depp case. If he wins, this can be a landmark for men's rights. Johnny Depp is not known as a wussy. He has a bad boy reputation. If even he can become a victim, it opens the gates to societal understanding of violence against men. Military men, construction workers, lawyers, men who are known to be strong and successful also have to deal with domestic violence perpetrated by sometimes very petite women. If this is finally understood, we can start to protect men. Hopefully, judges and juries will start to convict women, while society may start to put question marks next to believe all women hysteria. So you see these fragile men talking about how women need to be held accountable for all of this stuff and how they hope it's like a landmark case in men's rights. Here's where this thinking leads. So Marilyn Manson, who's already came up, has very well documented allegations of absolutely awful, insane abuse against Evan Rachel Wood, among others. But here's a nice little post for you. The Johnny Depp trial got me thinking about the allegations against Marilyn Manson. How do you feel about them? Personally, I think that Evan Rachel Wood is a liar. Number one, because she's posting on social media. Okay, and it's obvious that she's delusional. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Not only that, she's traumatizing her 7-year-old son, in which my opinion is child abuse. Yeah, again, these people just say this because they hate women, in my opinion. She has her son convinced that Manson is out to hurt them. I understand that people will say things that they don't mean during a breakup, but if Manson really meant to hurt her, he would have done it. I know he can seem a little out there, but I also know he would never harm a child, especially. So this guy is basically taking his personal feelings about Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson and applying it to, like, reality. If you read what Evan Rachel Wood wrote about Marilyn Manson, it is insane to say that he never meant to hurt her. What he did to her was some of the worst abuse I've ever heard. I just don't believe anything she's saying, because why wait 10 years to come forward? Because she was 18, wasn't that famous, and he was way more famous, could probably ruin her life, and he did ruin her life in some ways. 10 years later, she's very famous, she has a platform to speak out, and there's numerous reasons why women will wait so long. If you listen to these really great podcasts about the people who came forward against Cosby, you'll understand why it takes so long for women to come to terms with what's happened to them or feel like they can finally come forward against these people. That's the other thing that has me question all of this. I'm a domestic violence survivor and I had proof, where is theirs? Also, when I first left, I laid low for about 3 months. I never posted on social media. The only thing I did was text my family to let them know I was okay. I did this to protect myself and my son. She's not doing any of that. Also, if she really felt that their lives were in danger, she would not be staying in a location where she could be found. She would either be moving around or she'd be in a shelter. I just don't believe her. And if you ask me, she's in the same boat as Amber Heard, and I hope she goes to jail when the real truth comes out. So this guy, again, like he's saying, taking his own experience, applying it to Evan Rachel Wood, and yeah, she's rich enough to get security. Why would she go to a shelter, and why would she be hiding from him? She can hire her own security and be safe. So then you have this conspiracy theory. Evan Rachel Wood is a friend of Amber Heard, just like Johnny Depp is a friend of Manson. I could see the possibility of Amber Heard colluding with Rachel Wood to take out Marilyn alongside Johnny. She could also be mentally ill as Amber Heard. Both Rose McGowan and Dieter Von Tess said Marilyn didn't abuse them. This doesn't prove he didn't abuse them, but it also doesn't provide a reason to be skeptical. Oh my god, I did not know that Evan Rachel Wood and Amber Heard were friends. I know that Johnny Depp and Manson were friends. Makes sense now though. I know that abusers don't abuse every single partner they get with, but at the same time, I agree with you. It does make her accusations harder to believe. They pick people out that they think are weak. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that he did this stuff. I have his book, and in it he stated that he's always got people's consent. If they weren't comfortable with something, he would not force them into it. He would move on to the next person. So this person has Manson's book, read Manson's book, takes every word Manson says at face value, dismisses all accusations by Evan Rachel Wood. And again, this is where this type of thinking leads you, where because of this insanely sensationalized court case, you start doubting all women, including ones who have documented this terrible, terrible abuse. Then you have stuff like this. The meaning of Harvey Weinstein, Me Too makes due process hard to sustain. Weinstein is innocent. Probably, but the MRA don't want to hear it because they're worried about how it will look. No one bothers to look at the charges that Weinstein was charged with. Harvey Weinstein may get off, justice for men. He's clearly a questionable character and has probably done deeply immoral and possibly illegal things. However, he does deserve a trial conducted without prejudice and fair, even if that does lead to a reconviction. Bad justice is no justice at all. How can anyone judge his character when the trial was deeply flawed and biased? Justice is supposed to prevail for both the accuser and accused. This didn't happen in this case. The justice system needs to seriously reconsider gender bias and making judgment for cases that are all about gender. Feminism demands equality, but only where it's not prejudicial to women's interests. I doubt he will be exonerated. Feminist interests have poured too much effort into making an example of him to allow it to be overturned regardless of the merits. So you can kind of see with all those posts how you can go from first supporting Johnny Depp to doubting charges against Marilyn Manson and even Harvey Weinstein, a guy who was found guilty in court, a guy who was sent to rot in prison for all the stuff he's done, and most of these men are never held accountable. But what these guys don't understand, there is essentially no benefit to women coming forward. Look at Christine Blasey Ford with the Kavernacle stuff. Ruined her life. Amber Heard's life is ruined as well for talking about these things. Most women who come forward have their lives ruined. And that's what Me Too was about. It's about empowering women to come forward and not letting men dominate the media framing and like the courts and everything like that to demonize these women as women who want to ruin the lives of powerful men. But sadly, that is what's happening in the Johnny Depp trial. Because even though Amber Heard often did treat him badly, it's pretty clear in my opinion, he is an abuser himself. And this whole thing is making it seem like she is just another woman trying to ruin a man's reputation based on woke Me Too. And like these guys are saying, now they doubt, is Evan Rachel Wood making it up because she's friends with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is friends with Manson? Even if this trial was Johnny Depp was totally innocent, Amber Heard was a manipulative liar, it would not change anything in the grand scheme of things, because at the end of the day, while it's important to talk about male victims, discrediting all women based on what you feel like is one woman lying about to take down a powerful man does not make any sense based on the statistics we have about everything else to do with these things. And like I said, Me Too was about finally holding powerful people to account because they'd never been held account for these sexist acts of abuse, and it's so disproportionate with men doing it against women, and that's why we are talking about it more. And also, if your response to Me Too and women finally coming out in large numbers to either protest this system of abuse is to say, well, what about the men? What about the men? Our whole society is skewed against men. Men go fighting wars at the behest of Hillary Clinton. There is something deeply wrong with you. You are extremely sexist, and it's just depressing how I feel like this whole trial is radicalizing more men into this way of thinking that somehow men's rights are under attack. Not that we live in a world which is dominated by men. It's a patriarchal system where if in the West you are a straight white man, there is no systemic issues that you're going to face really, because this whole system was designed by people like you to keep people like you in power. So anyway, that was a long one today. That is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out the subreddit, check out my Patreon, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.